Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my live streams. We are going to continue doing something in this live stream that I've been doing for a little while now, and that is talking about something other than Amazing Spider-Man. If you have been watching this channel for any length of time, you know I love some Spider-Man, as evidence by the wall behind me. But as of late, I've been trying to talk about some other things so as to make sure that people understand that I like things other than Spider-Man. So we have been talking as of late about the X-Men, and we are going to continue that in this video. We are not going to talk about any kind of speculation stuff, but we are going to talk about what comes next in terms of the post House of X Powers of 10. What comes after that? There are 6 new X-Men titles, that are coming, but there are some twists and turns. There are some new things that are happening with these teams, and we're going to talk a little bit about it over the course of this live stream. Before we get too deep, I want to definitely say stay tuned because there's something that you're probably going to be interested in seeing as part of this video. So definitely stay tuned for that. We also want to say hello to the comic book Swojas who have joined me here on a, what is today? Tuesday, Wednesday? I don't know. Super Honorable Nephew is here. It is good to see my friend Hydra Collectibles is here. Simon, my friend Simon, it is good to see you, my friend. Tina is here. Welcome to the live stream. Unruly Simeon is here. Steven is here. Stacy's weekly comic picks is here. Scrolling through, Yong T. Randy, my man Randy hooked me up, man, with some new art. It is actually back there. You cannot see it. I'm going to actually do a video and actually show this art. My man Randy hooked me up with 2 new fantastic pieces of art that arrived yesterday. I cannot wait to show you guys this stuff. Hawaiian Punch in Your Face 72. It is good to see you. Stampede is here. Jesse Tibbetts is in the house. Layback Entertainment is here. Comics Bros is here. My man Harvey Abel. It is good to see you, my friend. H-Town Comics is here. Old Wolf 65. TJ Slab Dragon. He says, have you moved into YouTube? Brother, when you have the free time, you do it. And yeah, I love the live show. I really enjoy doing the live shows. I think Sunday was some of the best fun that I've had in a long time. Yesterday's live stream, I think, was pretty fun. So fingers crossed that this one is also as enjoyable for me as I think it is for you guys as well. Robello, it is good to see you. Welcome here. He says, perfect timing. I was falling asleep at work. Well, wake up, my friend. Wake up. JR is in the house. Greg is here. Michael is in the house. Strange Tales to Collect is here. Comics and More is I'm going to show that comment. I guess it is a little hot and humid in the UK because someone is sweating something off here. Fantastic Comics is in the house. Cody is here. She Spawn 1992. She Spawn, where were you yesterday when someone asked me about my level of excitement for Spawn 300 and 301? I could have used your depth of knowledge around the topic of Spawn and Todd McFarlane, because that is not my area of expertise, but it is definitely hers. If you are not following She Spawn on Instagram, you definitely want to check her out. She loves some Spawn. Michael is here. It's good to see you. Watched is here. Eddie's mullet is in the house. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for hanging out with me. And I guess it is hot and humid in the UK versus being overcast and gloomy, such as the one time that I was there. That is now my impression of the UK. Small gyms, and it is cloudy and gray. That is my impression, and nothing will ever change that, I guess, until I visit again and things are a little bit different. She says she was at work. Well, I could have used you, bro. I could have really used your assistance yesterday. ICT Vinny is here. It's good to see all you guys. Hot in Berkeley. I was, where was I? I was up north today. I had to run an errand for the wife, and I shot up north right past Berkeley. But that was, a couple of hours ago. Raining and hot in Miami. Such is the case with Miami. I lived down there for 2 years, and Fort Lauderdale, worked in Wesson. And I had a good friend that was down in Sunny Isles. And so I've spent a little bit of time out there in Miami. So I definitely know that weather. That is where your lotion just slides off. So what we are going to talk about in this live stream, because I don't know if you guys have heard this. Maybe if you have, that's great, because then we can have a more lively discussion. I've been talking a lot about, as of lately, the House of X and Powers of 10, which is basically the new miniseries, if you will, the two new miniseries that is coming out from Jonathan Hickman. And I've spoken about the fact that Jonathan Hickman is now confirmed that he is actually going to be involved with the X-Men for the next few years, for the foreseeable future. That is basically what he has said to us, which I think is wonderful. And the big question has been, what happens after House of X, Powers of 10? What happens, right? And so what was recently announced by Marvel is that there are six new titles that are actually coming following those two mini-series. So starting in October, there will be 6 X-Men titles that are out there. They are revamping a lot of stuff. And in my previous conversations, people were like, well, what about Colossus? And what about Rogue? And what about this person? And what about that person? We actually have some, not all of those answers right now, based upon some of the things that Marvel has been saying. And I want to run through those things and talk a little bit about my thoughts on some of these things. And then I also have an announcement for you guys, so definitely stay tuned for that. So let me see whatever the Gibbon is sweating. You guys are hilarious. 6 Whelp by Wallet. That is correct, my friend. We are all about to have our pockets run, because not only are there going to be 6 titles, but there's going to be, my guess, 600 variants for each one of those titles, especially for issue number 1. Well, probably nothing will actually happen. They're going to save all that magic for like issue 3, when we've all been disappointed and bought up number 1, and then we're hopeful for number 2. And then when we start to give up around number 3, they're going to say, oh, but wait, there's new stuff happening. That is my cynical side. All right. So the first title, no shocker here. The first title that is coming out is actually an X-Men title. Shocker, right? But there is something interesting about this title. If you actually look at the images for this particular title, there are some interesting things that will jump out at you. And I actually want to try to show you guys my screen here so that you can actually see what I'm talking about when I'm talking about this very first title. The very first book is an X-Men book. And what you will notice here is that everybody in this photo, except for Wolverine, is basically related. Everybody in this photo is basically related to Scott and Jean, except for Wolverine. And so what you're going to see is this is basically Cyclops's hand-picked team, featuring his, as my display falls down in the background there, featuring his brother, Havoc, his other brother, Vulcan, who is in the background there, his father, Corsair, and then he is also joined by his, I guess, son, Cable, his daughter, Rachel, his wife, Jean Grey, and then the only person, again, that is not related to Scott Summers that is pictured here is actually Wolverine. And this one, by and large, to be honest with you, seems to be about like family stuff. This one seems to be about like family stuff, because everybody in this Joker is basically related to one another, right? So it looks like Jean Grey is actually going to return to her Marvel Girl persona, by evidence of that outfit and based upon some things that were said in the Seeds of Tomorrow magazine, that Rachel Summers, their daughter, will actually take on the mantle of the Phoenix. And so that's why you saw the two of them kind of look the way that they do, because Rachel is going to be Phoenix and Jean Grey is basically going to be Marvel Girl. But this one is all about family. This is Cyclops' handpicked team. It's going to be all about family drama, and all that kind of stuff. And you've always heard the X-Men say it's kind of like a family, that kind of thing. Now it is truly like, it is truly family, right? They are a team. They are a family. This one is written by Jonathan Hickman. And I think that's going to be one of the things, is that he is doing the House of X, the Powers of 10, and then he is also going to be doing the ongoing series right here. So I think that that's pretty interesting. But that is the picture that was dropped. And so I thought that was pretty cool. I'm actually looking forward to this one. The last reboot that they did, I read some of them. I wasn't terribly excited about the artwork and nor about the story, but I'm very hopeful that this new X-Men title that is being written by Jonathan Hickman is going to be a powerhouse. And again, I think that, the House of X, Powers of 10, and this title will go a long way towards giving the MCU some fodder for them to be able to craft a movie from. So Grant says, Reggie, I was free all morning and you waited until the middle of my doctor's. Sorry, my friend. My honeydew list demanded that I go live a little bit later. So I will allow you to reach out to my wife to have a conversation. Eric, welcome to the live stream, my friend. Eric the Grizzly. Love that name. So you haven't missed very much. Mick Pick says Hickman is the master of the slow burn. Yeah, there's definitely going to be a slow burn here. So that is the first title. It is the X-Men team. It is a family affair. It is basically everybody that is basically related to Scott Summers that he decided he wanted on his team. And it's actually a pretty powerful team, right? Havoc is a beast. Vulcan is a beast. Rachel Summers is a beast. Jean Grey. I mean, they're all beasts. The only one that's a little iffy is Corsair, right? So this is the first time I think that we're going to have Cyclops, his two brothers, and his father all on a team. So that's going to be really interesting, right? Then he has his daughter, his son, his wife, and his to some degree or another, his nemesis on the other side, that being Wolverine. But they are basically going to come together I think as a pretty dope team. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with this. Well, my guess is that this one's primarily going to be Earth-based. That's my guess. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Now, the next one, I have been trying to get into this one because this next one, back in the day when it was originally done, was written by Chris Claremont. Chris Claremont from 17 years on the X-Men. I was like, I got to read this, right? So I read the first appearance of Excalibur, and it was okay. Wasn't a killer. It was okay. So then I go to the regular Excalibur title, and the struggle became real. The struggle became real, and I did not really dig that regular ongoing series. So I'm hoping fingers crossed that this new title, this next one, which is the second one that is going to be released in October, Excalibur, is actually going to be better. Now, what's interesting about this one is that this one seems to be all about mutants and magic, right? And they kind of talked about in some of the stuff that came out, mutants and the X-Men have always dealt with these worlds around them, these other worlds like the human worlds and that kind of stuff. But they're also going to be dealing with the magical realm and mysticism. And so this team is actually led by Captain Britain, who is now a woman. And this is the new Captain Britain, who is a woman. And she is joined by Rogue, Gambit, Jubilee, Richter, and wait for this one, and Apocalypse. That's right, a villain is now on an X-Men team. So you have Captain Britain, Rogue, Gambit, Jubilee, Richter, and Apocalypse that are now becoming the new Excalibur. I find this one a little strange because if they're going to deal with mysticism and magic, you would think that they would want magic on the team, because doesn't magic do that kind of thing? I thought that was interesting that they decided that this team would be the one that would deal with mysticism. I don't know what to make of that. So let me scroll. Villains are always on the X teams. Yeah. But Apocalypse, they're one of their main nemesis. I mean, even I guess you did have Magneto that kind of joined, but he more led the team than was actually a member of the team, like on the roster. And that was in an extreme case. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, I need to think a little bit more about that, because you absolutely could be right about that one. Witch Hunters is saying Hydra Collectibles should have had magic. There you go. Scarlet Witch. There, you see what I'm saying? Well, I guess you have Gambit, right? Because isn't Gambit Creole, right? And they have some voodoo stuff down there, but Jubilee, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. Captain Britain is Psylocke, but the original look. Let me get back to you on that one. Simon Gill says it sounds like Justice League Dark. You have me there, my friend, because I don't know DC that well. So I'm going to have to say yes. That's what that's what it sounds like. So actually, let me show you guys what this team actually looks like. And it looks like they are in front of a bowl of Hawaiian punch here. But this is with some pedals in it. This is the Excalibur team right here that we are looking at. This is the cover, I think, of Excalibur 1, probably one of 600 titles. You can see that they changed the Captain Britain's uniform just a little bit, put a sash around her waist with her X symbol on there. But that is the squad. A lot of people were asking about Gambit and Rogue, so now you know where they are. They are part of the Excalibur team. It's going to be interesting to see where they're based out of, whether it's going to be out of the UK or whether they're going to move them somewhere else. My guess, if Captain Britain is on the team, they're still going to be based out of the UK. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with this one in the long term. The very next team, that we're talking about is this one is another one that is a little worrisome for me. And I'm curious to see what you guys' thoughts are on this one. Here it is. This is the Marauders. This is the Marauders. This is the very next title that is coming out. And this one is based on the high seas. You have this squad that is basically going to patrol the ocean's waters to protect essentially the disenfranchised, those that are other than, those that need help and protection. This Marauder team, which is comprised, technically led by Kate Pryde, and is joined by Emma Frost, Storm, Pyro, Bishop, and also Iceman. This is the squad that is basically going to patrol the ocean's waters to basically protect people from danger. This is the team. I don't know if did I show that so you guys could actually see that. I think I just may have had a glitch right there in the playback. Let me show that so hopefully you guys can actually see it. Here's the team. Hopefully you guys can actually see that one now. But this is essentially the Marauders team. And again, this one is comprised of Kate Pryde, Emma Frost, and I think it's her trading company of some sort. Emma Frost, Storm, Pyro, Bishop, and also Iceman. That is basically the Marauders team. And this one again has me a little worried. It could turn out to be pretty good. We will see how it goes. Oh man, so here you go. You got a couple of Pyro and Iceman, as a couple of people saying. Unruly Simeon is like Pyro and Iceman. Interesting. Darnell is like Pyro is underused. Yes, he is definitely underused. Who is this? Pyro protecting the oceans. Yes, Eddie's. I'm telling you, there are some interesting combinations that are going on here. And Super Honorable Nephew was like, the Marauders? And I think the Marauders made their first appearance, in X-Men 210, full appearance in 211, I want to say. Those are actually two books that I may spotlight in an upcoming video. But I want to say that it was X-Men 210 and 211 is the cameo appearance of the Marauders, and then the full appearance of Marauders is actually in X-Men 211. I don't know whether, those books could see any kind of uptick as a result of this new title coming out. But this is one where they're patrolling the oceans. I don't know. And here, one of my thoughts was that if in House of X, we learn that Krakoa is basically the new world, the new utopia for mutant kind. It is an island, but the island, I don't think can be reached via conventional means, because my original thought was, okay, if it's an island, the island has to be protected. But the way that I understand them kind of playing it out again in this Seeds book is that you just can't roll up to Krakoa Island. That you actually have to be teleported there, or you have to be accompanied by a mutant. So I don't know why you would need a team patrolling the waters. But I'm guessing that in October, a lot will be revealed to us so that we better understand what is actually happening there. Oh my goodness. TJ says, and please, do we really need more Jubilee? Brother, don't let your buddy Alec hear that, man, because you know how he feels about some Jubilee. Somebody was trying to sell him a Jubilee yesterday, and he was all about it. All right, let me scroll down. And Chuck is like, Mutants of the Caribbean. Yes, my friend, they will wear. If you saw that photo, it looks like Kate Pryde actually has a short sword and a long sword with the scabbard and everything, man. She is all pirate. She is all pirate right now. So Maybe there's even an eye patch. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. And you've got Bishop back there. Bishop's like, man, I don't even do water. Same thing. Well, I guess Storm is good. She's good. But Bishop's like, why are we in the middle of the ocean? I'm not into this. So those are the teams so far. New Excalibur, New Mutants, X-Force. I guess dollar bins are running low, and this is Marvel's effort to keep them restocked and coming. Comic Assassin. We shall see. All right. So that's three teams. That is three teams out of six. And we are going to continue with this little bit of countdown that we're doing. But before we get to number 4, I want to give you guys an opportunity to actually add a really cool book to your collection. And it's this book right here. Because we've been talking about X-Men, how can I not do a giveaway featuring X-Men? I started it last week and we're going to continue it this week. So if you are interested in adding this cool book to your collection, X-Men 101 6.5 White Pages, an awesome, awesome book. This is actually the origin and first appearance of the Phoenix. This book actually, I don't believe, has ever been pressed. There are pressable defects that I'm able to see on this book on the front and the back. There's also a little sketch that someone decided to doodle down here. Ignore that. But this book is a 6.5, but has the potential to be 7.5 with a clean and a press if someone decides to go that route. But you can actually add this book to your collection, and all you have to do is write down this phrase. The phrase is slim. Slim. Slim is the name that Wolverine used to call Cyclops back in the day. Slim, because he was long, he was thin, his name was Slim. The phrase that you will need is that, Slim. You head over to the community tab, you scroll down until you find the post where I'm talking about X-Men 101. You click the link for MailChimp, you go to the MailChimp, you type in 3 pieces of information. 2 of them are personal to you, and the third one is the phrase Slim. That's all that you need to do and actually be in the running to actually win this book. Then you tune into the Ready, Set, Go preview show, which airs on Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time to find out if you are indeed the winner. You have 1 week to claim your prize, but we will do the drawing on Sunday at 7:30, and we'll find out if you actually win. You'll get that book, which is sponsored by Go Collect, along with a t-shirt, a variant, and possibly even something else, all from Go Collect, who is sponsoring this giveaway that we do every single week. All that I ask is that you be a subscriber of the channel, you be a resident of the United States, a resident of Canada, or have a mailing address in the US. That is it. That is all you have to do, and you can actually get this pretty awesome book, which I think has pretty high FMV. Maybe we'll look it up on Go Collect before we get ourselves out of here. All right. So that is it with that. Let's jump back to our countdown. We are on title number 4. This is title number 4, and this is another new yet old title that Marvel has decided to dust off again. I guess the last reboot that they did of New Mutants wasn't that successful, so they're going to do it again. The New Mutants are back. Now, what's different? What's different is that this one is actually going to be written by Jonathan Hickman. Well, technically, the first issue is going to be by Jonathan Hickman and Ed Brisson. Ed Brisson is doing the current run of Uncanny X-Men, but Jonathan and Ed are going to team up for issue 1, and then Jonathan Hickman is going to do the ongoing title after that. So he is going to do both the New Mutants and also X-Men for the foreseeable future. So let me show you actually an image of what this team actually looks like, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. Let me show you this. So this is the New Mutant squad, and this squad is actually comprised of Sunspot, Wolfsbane, Mirage, Karma, Magic, Cypher. And I don't know who's leading the team, but many of those people are the same members that have been on the New Mutants for a while. And then they also talk about that there may be 2 to 3 other members, including someone by the name of Chamber and also someone named Mondo. This one is, I'm not sure where this one is going to be based, because in the description that I read for this thing, they actually talked about the Starjammers, and the Starjammers is Corsair, Cyclops' father's old team, which is a space-based team, the Starjammers. So there is possibly the fact that the New Mutants will be based in space, but I don't know, right? They mentioned Starjammers, which kind of caught me off guard. I don't know. I don't know if this is, I don't know. This team, this title goes back to like my early days in the 90s with the who was it, the Fallen Angels and all that kind of stuff. And then it became the New Mutants. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that this title succeeds and does well. But this is one that there wasn't a whole lot of information that came out about this one. But if Jonathan Hickman is writing it, maybe it has the potential to do maybe it has the potential to do well. So Billy Parker says the newest mutants, the new old mutant, says Hydra. Yeah, and I mean, Universe X is making the point here that Magic may lead it. You might be right, because Magic is kind of like down in front, so she may actually lead this squad versus like your Sunspot. You could be right about that. It could indeed be Magic that actually leads this team. I thought it was a little interesting that they actually didn't call it out specifically in the description that I actually read. So what we're going to see about that. Chamber is the firemouth guy in the center, says McPick. And what they were saying in the description is that the team, which is comprised of Sunspot, Wolfsbane, Mirage, Karma, Magic, Cypher, are going to team up with their friends, Chamber and Mondo, to find a missing member. That was basically the way that it was described, and I'm doing that for memory. So it wasn't clear to me whether Chamber and Mondo are on the team or not. Or whether those two are going to be involved as friends to help them find another missing member. So that's why I said I'm uncertain whether there's going to be 2 or 3 more members, because again, the description that I read was a little nebulous. So we're actually going to see OG New Mutants and 2 Gen X. All right. Marcus, I see you. All right. So that is the 4th title. That is the 4th title that is actually dropping in October from Marvel that will continue to kind of build out this new X-Men franchise for the foreseeable future, which brings us to number 5. Number 5 is another oldie but goodie. Number 5 is another oldie but goodie. I want to pop my screen up here so that you guys can actually see this one as well. This one could be a little interesting. This one is the Fallen Angels. This one I remember from back in the day. I have several copies of this, and I've shown them in previous videos. This is the Fallen Angels. Another new old team is actually coming back. Now, what's interesting about this one is that you see Psylocke. You see Psylocke right there. She is right in front, and it is the Asian Psylocke that is back. The Asian Psylocke is actually back. It is no longer, I think it's the twin sister of the old Captain Britain. This is the old Psylocke. She is back. She is joined by X-23. You can see X-23 down in the middle there, and it also appears to be Cable. And I think Cable is also basically on 2 teams. Cable is on the X-Men team, and Cable is also now, I think, on the Fallen Angels team. Now this one is interesting because it's like 3 people. I don't know. It's 3 people that are basically the Fallen Angels. And the setup, the premise behind this one, I think is a little weak, but maybe they're being nebulous on purpose. Maybe there's some special magic that's going to happen. But basically what happens is Psylocke loses a friend and is seeking revenge, and basically taps X-23 and baby Cable back there to help her find some vengeance for her friend that is killed. That is basically the whole premise. Psylocke wants revenge, and she calls up her buddies, and they are going to help her seek revenge for her friend that was actually killed. We don't know how the friend was killed or even who the friend is. We don't know whether there's other members of the team, but it basically appears to be 3 members of the team, one of which is going to split his time between the X-Men and also this Fallen Angels team. So it's going to be interesting again to see how this one plays out. I don't know. Steven is saying pretty cover. It is actually a nice cover. I would have to agree with that I thought that was a pretty artistic cover on that one. So scrolling through the comments, the Asian assassin that merged with Psylocke. Correct. So is Jean Grey double dipping? No, Jean Grey is only on the X-Men team. Jean Grey is only on the X-Men team, but you have a couple of people that are double dipping, and that would be Wolverine, and I'll talk about him in just a moment, and also Cable. Cable is also double dipping. Everyone else appears to be on a single team, at least from what I am seeing right now. The book actually had a good writer on it. Yeah, I think a lot of these actually have a couple of good writers. And again, you could have a not great team and you can still make some magic with it, right? So we will see how it actually plays out. Yeah, I think that is the young Cable from Extermination. I think it again is also the same Baby Cable. I'm calling him Baby Cable versus the old Cable. He is also the same Cable that is also on the X-Men team as well. So he's going to be double dipping right there. Geek is saying, shocker that Wolverine is on multiple teams. Well, when you have arguably the second most popular Marvel character out there, you spread them around. There's no way that you couldn't have Wolverine on an X-Men team, right? The rest of that X-Men team is all basically brothers, cousins, sisters, that kind of thing. And you've got Wolverine. He's the only one not related, right? But you can't have an X-Men team without Wolverine. Like that just doesn't work, you know? So it only makes sense. It only makes sense. Is Eddie's mullet is asking a question whether it's still mandated that Wolverine must appear in every X book. I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that being mandated. I think that he is definitely a fan favorite. And if fans, i.e. me, is reading an X-Men book, I want to see some Wolverine. I want to see some claws get popped in that X-Men book. To me, it's not really an X-Men book without Wolverine. That's just my personal preference because I love Wolverine. Thomas Churchill is making a point that they have no clue, no idea what to do with X-23. Yeah, which is probably why she's on Fallen Angels with Psylocke and Baby Cable. You know, I feel that same way about like Excalibur back in the day, right? Excalibur was a team where they didn't know what to do with Rachel Summers, so they just threw her off in the UK and was like, hey, just hang out over there with Captain Britain. And that's possibly why that book was so painful when I started to read it, because it was just not a good book, not a good book. But fingers crossed that all of these books are really, really good. So Harvey Abel, don't ruin what could potentially be another video for me, my friend. I know you sent it to me, but don't ruin it for me. All right. Yes. Spider-Man is the most popular. That's why I was saying that Wolverine is arguably the second most popular, but we all know what side Marvel's bread is buttered on. It is buttered on the Spider-Man side. All right. So let's get to the very last team, which I think is a dope team. This team is actually it's like the CIA. They describe this thing as the CIA. And it's like, hey, if everything out there is like super golden for mutants, you still need the CIA to make sure that the future is bright, right? So that's what this team is right here. This squad right here is the line in the sand. And if you actually look right down the middle of this cover shot, which I think is really gorgeous. I like this cover. I think that this artist does a really mean Jean Grey and also Domino down front. Wolverine looks slick. I'm digging this. Cover. But if you look, the screen is divided. The cover is divided in two, and it's divided in two because this X-Force team is basically two teams, A and B, kind of, sort of, right? And it is basically the intelligence, which is the left side, and the right side is is basically special ops, what I'm calling wet works. These are the guys that are going to get busy, right? And so on the left-hand side, you basically have, on the intelligence side, I should say, you have Beast, Jean Grey, Sage. And on the wet work special ops side, you have Wolverine, Domino, Kid, Omega. And then you also have Black Tom Cassidy, who is not called out in the description, but Black Tom Cassidy is on the far left-hand side. He is another villain like Pyro and also Apocalypse, who have now joined another X team. And I believe that Black Tom Cassidy is actually going to be on the intelligence side because he's on the left. And then you have Colossus, who a lot of people have been asking about. Where is Colossus? It appears that Colossus is now on the X-Force team, specifically on the Wet Works Special Ops teams, because he's on the right-hand side with Wolverine and Domino, et cetera, et cetera. So this is the very last team. This is the X-Force team that is going to do all of the nasty business that has to be done to, I guess, protect mutant kind. They're going to be the Special Ops team. So this one's going to be interesting to see how, that team, for example, interacts with the X-Men. What I don't know is I'm guessing they're going to operate independently of one another, but my guess is that the X-Men are going to call them up and be like, hey, we have a special situation. We need some heavy hitters, and then they're going to deploy the X-Force team. I've always really enjoyed the X-Force team. I've enjoyed that comic since back in the day. And so again, I'm excited. I'm excited. That is a book that I am definitely excited about, because I think that the art is going to be awesome. And then I like the characters that are on that team. So there you have it. Those are basically the 6 new X related titles that are being rolled out in October. All 6 of these are going to follow what happens with Jonathan Hickman's House of X and Powers of 10. I don't know if there's other X-Men related titles that are coming, but it seems like this is the new universe. This is the new universe that we are going to operate within, these 6 teams. And I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that all of these are pretty awesome. Some of them are right now, again, are a little questionable in my mind, as the team composition and the team focus. Some of them seem a little thin, but I am hopeful that that they're going to be good. That's the hope. Juggernaut can be so. Oh, here we go. Mike the Collector is saying there are 2 books that still don't have a release date. What are those 2 books? Because I didn't see that, so I'm curious. What are those 2 books that you're seeing? That you're alluding to. Jug is in Riverdale. You're a nut. Scrolling through some of the comments here. Oh my goodness. Kingpin Comics is like, so how many copies are you buying of X-Force? 20 or 30? You got to keep the tradition. Brother, I literally just pulled out an X-Force 1 from back in the 90s out of a poly bag just a couple of minutes ago, to be honest with you. I got a stack of them in a collection, and I was like, let me open one of these things up. And opened it up, kind of flipped through it, and brought back a lot of memories. I still probably have I think there's like 15. I think there's 15 in that collection. Then I have several in my own collection already. So no, I'm not buying that many. But what I can promise you is that not one of these 6 titles will have any fewer than 30 variants. I can probably guarantee that. I can probably guarantee that not one of these titles will have fewer than 30 variants, because we are entering an unprecedented age with the return of the X-Men, and Marvel is going to pump some money into this one. And you can guarantee that a lot of the virtual comic shops out there are going to have their store variants and all that kind of stuff. There's going to be a ton of activity around these 6 titles. And I don't know that there's anything wrong with it. I think that, you're going to basically have to pick and choose, right? Because there's going to be so many, you're going to have to decide, where do you spend your money? But it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. So, scrolling through some of the comments. Can't remember. You guys are awesome. I'm scrolling through. Can't remember what they have writers in them. What is this? Is it that X-Force with the error Deadpool? I don't know. I know this one actually that I opened up had a cable card. It actually has 2 cards. One of them was cable. I can't remember what the other was, but there were no errors in it. Snizzle Pop is saying some odd lineups, stories better impressed. There you go. Here's the thing. You can have an obtuse kind of squad, but if the artwork and the story are killer, that'll make up for a whole lot. If you can find a way to blend it together as a writer, I saw on Instagram earlier today, Chris Claremont was actually sitting at his writing table, and on his writing table, it was a disaster. Let me just be honest. It was a disaster of like papers and notes and stuff like that. And he was basically saying, I'm sitting here at my table, brainstorming, writing, rewriting, thinking through different things. And his whole thing was that it's easy to have an idea about something, but it's a whole nother thing to bring that idea into something that is concrete and something that is cohesive and something that actually makes sense and flows quite nicely. And that is the talent of a writer, someone that can take these it's maybe intangible kind of things, these data points and these different characters, and tie it together in an unexpected way that is actually pleasing to the imagination. And then it's the artist's idea or the artist's goal to basically take that script, to take those ideas and to give them form. And if you can have a great writer and a great artist come together, magic can be made. And so fingers crossed that, yeah, Excalibur seems obtuse. The Marauders, with them being on the ocean, seems interesting. You've got the fallen angels. If the writer is talented and if the artist is talented, they will make magic. And my hope is that we don't just get a bunch of pretty covers. My hope is that we don't get just a bunch of pretty covers slapped on some not so great interior panels and not so great writing. But come October, November, we'll know. We'll know what the deal is with these 6 titles, and fingers crossed that they are good. Fingers crossed that we actually get the not necessarily a return to old, but some new fantastic stories. You know what I'm saying? That's my hope. So fingers crossed that we get that. Scrolling through some of the comments here, I'm gonna be honest with you. I am probably going to get one copy at least of all 6 for the first 5 issues. That is probably going to be my commitment, is basically at least one copy of each for the first 5 issues. That is probably going to be my commitment. And that probably almost triples my normal pull list. But I want to support the X-Men. I want to support what Marvel is trying to do here. And very quickly, we will know whether it is garbage or whether it is magic. Fingers crossed for some magic. Scrolling through some of the comments, Bruins is saying 30. Oh, I lost a comment. 30 retail variants and another 25 artist store variants. Yeah. Count on it. Count on it, my friend. It is going. X-Force 1 is packing material, says TJ Watson. It is indeed. It is indeed. Hydra saying, thinking about just sticking with Silver and Bronze Age. Nothing wrong with that, my friend. I would never tell a grown person how to spend their money, but I am going to support. I am going to support for at least the first 5 issues. At least the first 5. I did it. Here's the thing. I did it with Immortal Hulk, and it turned out well. I did it with Venom. It turned out well. I did it with Amazing Spider-Man. It's okay. So I'm going to sign up. I'm going to commit to it. Gray says, I try to stay away from variants, but we all know that never works out. Brother, I actually put it down in a video, my friend, as part of my New Year's resolution. And I held true to that New Year's resolution for several months, but then the floodgates opened and I started to order variants. I still don't get a ton, but I dip my toe in that water every once in a while. If something is really, really slick, I'll go ahead and jump in there. But I think you have to have a line in the sand. I think you have to have something that you work against. So Nightcrawler, we don't know. Nightcrawler was actually pictured in this book right here. There was a double spread. If you guys have seen this thing, if you haven't watched 2 videos ago, I showed the inside spread of this thing, and Nightcrawler and and another character that looks like Nightcrawler only is red are both pictured in there. My guess is that we're going to see Nightcrawler and many of these other characters that we haven't heard about in House of X and Powers of 10. Now, where they go after that, no clue, because these 6 books are basically, they listed out the rosters by and large. There are a lot of other characters. Like, I want to see my boy Forge come back. I love some Forge. I really do. And he is another underutilized character. He is nowhere to be found. So I don't know about Nightcrawler. I don't know about Forge. And the list goes on and on about so many other characters. Alex, the Common Quarter. It's good to see you, my friend. He says, remember back in the day when they rebooted X-Men with X-Men Blue, etc., that had like 30 issues. Oh yeah. Gold and blue. There was also a red, X-Men Red. I mean, it's been rebooted several times, right? With different color combinations. He says, oh, that was like a year ago. Yes, it was. I actually have a couple of copies of that X-Men Red at my ankle with X-23 on the cover. Super dope Virgin cover. Super dope. Always like the X-Men book, says Super Honorable Nephew, as do I, my friend. Scrolling through, Young T is saying, I hope Storm is a background character. She is underused. Scrolling through some of the comments, be on the lookout. Have 50th anniversary area. Oh, I may have to look at that. Universe X. Universe X, I will have to look into that. I like the X-Men Red. Alice the Comic Quarter is making the point here that he liked the X-Men Blue team. I actually like the X-Men Red. I liked that story where they were going with like Jean Grey and some of the things that were happening in the X-Men Red. I really got into that one, but then I stopped. But I definitely dig that one. Scrolling down. Oh, Tom Garcia is making a point here. Let me see if I can figure it. So before Marvel threw this mess at us, they should have made the original X-Men with Wolverine have different philosophies as to what to do in the future, then have every member lead a team until a threat. Pretty much not going to read that one. Death of X. Alice the Comic Hoarder is talking about Death of X, which is one that I read a couple of months ago. Someone hooked me up with a copy of that. I actually read that one. Okay, here we go. So Mike the Collector is actually adding to the knowledge base here. So I definitely appreciate that. He says IGN has an article saying that Jonathan Hickman says that there will be two waves. Two waves will be a wave 2 and a wave 3 of books. These 6 are wave 1. Thank you for that. All right. So what I'm hearing here is that they are basically taking a phased approach. There's potentially going to be 3 phases, 3 waves, and each wave is going to be comprised of different books. We are in wave 1 right now with these 6 books, but there are additional. So I guess we can assume that we're going to see, like a title that's like the Mutant Liberation Front. It seems like they want to dust off old titles and old teams and make them into books. So we will see. We'll see what the future holds. My guess is that we probably won't see any of that until next year because these are launching in October. So my guess is that we won't see any of that until 2020. But you never know. You never know. There seems to always be a larger plan, and the question becomes, can they have some success in these initial phases and waves to be able to get to some of that later stuff to actually make some of this stuff make sense to us? So I guess more to come. More to come. All right. So scrolling through some of the comments here. Scrolling through, K Bruins is saying they avoided the Silver Surfer Black variants, but they are so good. Well, you are stronger than I am, my friend, because I actually indulged. I indulged in Silver Surfer Black. I read Silver Surfer Black #1. I enjoyed it. I picked up several of the variants, and they are really gorgeous. Like the ones by Scott Williams, really gorgeous variants. I didn't go overboard because I think I only bought like 3, but I definitely dipped my toe in that water. So scrolling through, issue 6 will probably introduce a Hulk Green Jay hybrid that will be worth $100 plus on eBay. They are really oh my goodness, you are funny. Scrolling through some of the comments here. Funny. Scrolling through. Oh, I lost the comments. Yeah, so I don't know. Old Wolf is making the point here about that character. I don't even know how you say it. Hazel is basically a red Nightcrawler. You could be right about that, but in the seeds here, they actually didn't name the character, so that's why I have been hesitant to put a name on the character because they didn't actually name it there. So more to come on that, I guess, when we get to House of X, Powers of X. There's a question here from Logan about, do I read any DC? Yeah, if you go back and watch some of my videos, I actually do videos on DC, not as much as Marvel because I'm definitely a Marvel guy, but I've done videos on several DC titles, including like Batman. The Batman stuff, I definitely dig that stuff. So yeah, I do read some DC, but as you guys know, there's a lot of stuff out there between Marvel, DC, some of the independents, some of the secondary and tertiary publishing companies out there. There's a lot of stuff to read. And so, I kind of pick and choose, but I've always been a Marvel guy. And so if you look at my room here, vast majority of what you see on the wall is actually Marvel. There is one DC book that is on the wall, and it is actually a signed copy of Suicide Squad that was actually signed by Jim Lee that someone sent over to me. So that is the only DC book on the wall, I do believe. Scrolling through, Connor is in the house. How you doing? All the way from Ireland. It is good to see you, my friend. Thank you for joining the live stream. I actually did a post the other day asking where everyone was located, and there were several people, including people from Oklahoma, that commented that they were from a different country. Shout out to all of you guys that are tuning in from Ireland, from the UK, from Spain, from Russia. I think that was it. I think those were the ones that commented. But definitely, if you are from another country and you are watching this channel, definitely post up a comment so that I can give you guys a shout out. All right. So there you go. That is basically it. Hold on. Will I ever get any of these new X books ready? So Super Honorable Nephew is asking a legit question about whether I will get any of my X books graded. The answer is yes. The answer is yes, I will, but not right away. My philosophical approach for new books is to wait a couple of months to see what happens to the value of those books, right? Because there is a cost associated with getting books lab, right? Whether it be pressing costs, cleaning costs, shipping costs, grading and encapsulation costs, there are costs associated with these books. And because I don't have an infinite supply of money, then I have to kind of weigh the pros and cons of, do I send this book in? Do I send this book in and then have that book basically be underwater because it costs more to get it graded and encapsulated than what the book is worth? So I'm kind of balancing that thing. And in my head, if I wait a couple of months, if a book is hot, it'll spike. And then if it cools off, it'll come back down and I'll know whether, I shouldn't have sent it in, right? But if I send it in when the book is hot, then I'll send in a lot of stuff that by the time it comes back, because there's a delay, the book could be worthless, right? So generally speaking, I wait a couple of months before I send books in. And I basically did that with the Red Goblin stuff, right? The Red Goblin stuff that dropped, what was it, like 794 through 798 or something like that, 799, all of that Red Goblin stuff with Norman Osborn. I didn't send any of those books in. I held every single one. And I think I'm actually about to send some in because, and I take that back. I sent in maybe one of each. But now that those books are starting to hold their value at roughly like 45 and 50 bucks for 9.8, I may actually send some in, but I'm only sending them in to have them screened at 9.8s, and I will only have them graded if they are 9.8s and above. Anything less than that, I probably would not even slab it. So that's kind of like my balancing act. And there's actually a video on the channel. If you search for Regie Collects, like things to consider, or submitting to CGC or something like that, you'll actually find an article or video that I put together that actually talks about that, looking at the dollars and cents of what you actually get graded. Now, there's the other approach, right? There is the, I don't care about the dollars and cents. I'm doing it because this is my favorite book or my favorite character, my favorite story arc. And if that's the case, then you throw it out the window, right? And you get books graded and encapsulated for lots of reasons beyond the dollars and cents. But that is my perspective. And definitely, if you want to talk more about that, we can definitely chop it up. All right. Michael says, great grading strategy. Yeah, brother. So a lot of the advice that I actually give on this channel, or I should say things to consider, because that's typically how I phrase it, comes out of a few things. One, I made a mistake. And I learned from that mistake, and I want to prevent other people from making a mistake. The other thing is I actually gave forethought to it and avoided the mistake because I stopped and thought about it. And in both of those cases, my goal is to help other people not make the same mistakes that I made. And some of the mistakes that I made when I first started grading books, I started slabbing everything. Like, talk about an addict. I was addicted to slabbing. I have a box over here full of worthless slabs, completely worthless slabs, where I paid more money to have that book clean, pressed, graded, and shipped to and from than that book is ever going to be worth. And that is just being honest. And I've learned from that mistake. And that's kind of why I offer that advice up. That's how I developed that philosophy, is I made some mistakes and I don't want people to do the same thing. So Universe X says they will get hot now that the new Red Goblin series is coming. You, sir, are correct. And that's why I held my water, because I learned my lesson. And that's why I have now pressed many of those books and gone through and eyeballed them for 9.8 candidates or better. And that's why they are sitting in that bin behind me, getting ready to go to CGC because of the new series that is going to be coming out. That's why I did it. Because, the thing is, a lot of this stuff is circular. Really popular characters will find their way back, and so there you go. So we'll see. And that's, again, these books are already like 794 through 798.99 are holding their value in some cases, right? Depending upon which ones you get, are holding their value around $45, $50 or so for 9.8s. And maybe they will have the potential to go up depending upon what happens with the new series. So Um, TJ, hold on. So pause. TJ Slabdragon Watson says, slabbing everything. He doesn't see a problem. His name is TJ Slabdragon Watson. Yes, he slabs everything. TJ, you are awesome, my friend. One last reminder, and then we'll continue on because I'm there's a bunch of other comments that are popping in here. So one other comment that I'll give, and I talked about this earlier today. If you want an opportunity to actually win this book right here, it is X-Men 101 6.5 White Pages. All you have to do is head over to the community tab, find the link where I talk about this book, click on the MailChimp link, and then enter your information along with the phrase SLIM, SLIM. SLIM is the phrase to win this book right here, X-Men 101. Awesome X-Men book that I actually have in my collection, and you could have it in your collection as well. This giveaway is sponsored by Go Collect. So there you go. Let's look here. Have No Fear says, if I'm sending books, oh, I lost a comment just that quick. That flew away like nobody's business. Oh, here we go. If I'm sending books from the UK, they all get graded. Can't afford to post them just for a pre-screen, but I choose them very carefully. There you go. And again, I think depending upon someone's financial situation, depending upon someone's physical location, I think that your philosophy will probably be different from mine. And I think it's that is one of my larger points is that I give you a lot of things to consider, a lot of things to think about, but you as an individual still have to do your part. And it seems like Have No Fear, he definitely has a philosophical approach because of his distance over in the UK for mailing books to Florida. He's like, hey, if I send it, it's getting graded. But before I send it, I'm going to make sure that I go through the book. And my guess is that he does like I do, pull the book out of the plastic, look at the book front, back, inside, look at it and the light, try to make sure that you are identifying any possible defects before you actually send that book in. Last thing you want to do is to send in a 9.8 and it come back a 5.5. Why do I say that? Because it has happened to me. Sent in this book and I was like, oh, that's a 9.8 all day. Came back a 5.5. Hurt my heart. That was one of my early lessons that I learned. So there you go. Scrolling through some of the comments here. Michael says if he wins this X-Men 101 book, he says it's actually going to his sugar box. If you don't know what an old sugar box is, you need to head over to elsewhere on the channel and check out the video that I released yesterday because old sugar is hilarious. All right. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. Hold on, wait a minute. Hold on. So there's a question here from Kimball around, do I think that multiple variants are hurting the industry or helping it? Help me to understand that. Ooh, Geek has an excellent memory. Oh, well done, sir. Well done. He's like that X-Force 2, which is CGC 5.5. That is correct. That book is holding back there. It is sitting back there. So in what way, Kimball, why do you ask that question? Let me put it that way. The question here that has been posed to me is, Reggie, do you think that the multiple variants are hurting the industry or helping it? Yeah, it is a painful reminder. Every time I flip past that book, it is, hits me right in the stomach. So my general feeling on this question is that the number of variants that are being produced are nothing like the 90s. So anyone that is trying to draw a comparison, and this is Reggie's opinion, right? Because that's the question. It's Reggie's opinion. This is not the 90s. And I've done a series of videos, market watch videos and stuff like that on now versus the 90s. This is not the 90s. And I say that because when you look at what was happening in the 90s, there was 1 month, and I've stated this statistic several times. I want to say it was 48 million comics that were produced in 1 month. 1 month, 48 million comics were produced. You can go a whole year and not produce that many comics right now. Print runs now are much, much smaller than they were before. You may be doing print runs of 10,000, 20,000 or something like that. Back in the day, print runs were massive, massive. This is not the 90s. Now, what I will say is that the variants that are being produced are a way to make money. They are a way to make money for artists, for virtual comic shops, for physical comic shops, and for Marvel. It is a money making venture. And my issue with variants is that if a variant comes out that has a super attractive cover and the book inside is garbage, then I feel like that hurts people. I feel that if the exterior art just doesn't match up with the interior art or the story, I feel that that hurts people. I feel that when the cover art doesn't match in the sense that you show a character that doesn't even appear in the comic, I think that that is not a. I think you're doing a disservice to the comic book community. Now, with that said, there are a lot of people that look at comics as art and they want to see the beautiful art. They want to see the wonderful covers, and people are buying the comic for the cover art. And I don't necessarily see a problem with that. I don't necessarily see a problem with that. My I don't have a major problem with variants in general. Personally, I would prefer that everyone cut back on the number of variants, that they focus on making better comics. And by better comics, I mean comics that have better interior and exterior art, that have better writing, that also have better quality materials. I think that DC is doing it right when DC has one or two covers and both of them are dope. There's not like a cover A that's garbage and then a cover B through, 2000 that are super dope, right? I think one or two covers is more than enough for your average comic. And then on a special event, blow it out with some big comics. I think Marvel is doing it wrong when every single comic has 20, 30, 40, 50, 80, 90 variants. I think that that's too much. Now, is it hurting? I don't know. I mean, if people that are buying those books are happy, if retailers are making their money, if Marvel's making their money, if artists are making their money, if the industry as a whole is continuing to perform, I don't know that that's hurting the industry per se, you know? So those are just some of my thoughts. We can definitely, there you go. Universe X is like, I buy covers. It's art. There you go. Give me some card stock, bro. Give me some card stock. I love that idea. Give me some paper that you can't see through. Like if you can hold the page up and see the writing on the other side, that's a problem. Give me some good quality paper. Stop charging me $4, $5 for a comic that has basically tissue paper. You know what I'm saying? And wavy comics that are coming out brand new that are wavy. Like spend some money on giving me a better quality product. If you give me a better quality product, I have no problem paying good money for it. No problem at all. You know? I think, if you have people that are spending above their means to buy these comics, I don't know whose fault that is. You know what I'm saying? If someone is spending beyond their means, I don't, is that did Marvel do that? Marvel didn't make you do it. You know what I'm saying? And I think, I have a video coming out where I talk a little bit about this, about the personal responsibility. There's a lot of personal responsibility that we as collectors have to take. There's as content creators, as publishers, as artists, as writers. I think people have to take a little bit of responsibility for the things that we do, that we say, how we behave and stuff like that. So, here you go. Quality writing means nothing if the page tears before you finish the book. Well said. Well said. Um, yeah, I just Marvel's idea 1 in 100 variants for issue 4. Yeah, I mean, Marvel and all these companies, they're money makers. Their goal is to make money for shareholders, right? But just because they print it, just because they make it doesn't mean that we have to buy it. You know what I'm saying? We are the market. We control some of this stuff, and we control it by when we go to the comic shop, how we vote with our money. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I don't want to stay on my soapbox for too long. I don't want to stay on my soapbox, but again, I want to thank all of you guys out there for spending a little bit of your day with me, hanging out, talking about these awesome new X-Men comics that are coming out. I am excited about them. I really am. I am hopeful that these 6 titles are going to be fantastic. According to what someone said, I hope that Wave 2 and Wave 3 are are successful. I really do. I want the X-Men to be the bomb because they are my favorite team. I dig the X-Men, and I want Jonathan Hickman and all these other writers that are involved with these titles to be successful. I want the artists to make magic when they do their art, and I want Marvel and DC and all, I want everybody to be successful. You know what I'm saying? So, but I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. If you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so at Regie Collects on Instagram. You can also reach out to me on email at regiecollects@gmail.com. If you guys need me, I am not too hard to find. And remember, I have a video dropping in about 1 hour. It is a video on my trip to Detroit. It's a pretty good video, I think. So hopefully you guys will check that out in about an hour when it is released. Take care.